Hood got into an argument with Jeremy Brown at a Maxwell Street Express last weekend, and at some point, Brown punched her. The entire incident was caught on surveillance video. Police allege that Hood's son then shot Brown in the back and continued firing once outside. Hood has since been charged with murder.
Good morning, y'all. Your boy King Churro. It is Monday, July 10th, 2023. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. Just had breakfast. Yesterday, around 11 o'clock, one of my closest friends sent me a couple of YouTube links about this issue about Jeremy Brown, an incident in Chicago where he assaulted a woman in line at a fast food establishment on Maxwell Street. Here's the story.
Murder charges against a mother and her 14-year-old son have been dropped.
Get your food! Who? Get in the car? Who? Hey. Get your food! Get your food! If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh my God, I said one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out.
The man later died from his injuries. A state attorney's office says they moved to dismiss the charges due to emerging evidence.
Here are some of the women, the mammies who've come out to defend the man in Chicago who attacked the woman whose 14-year-old son had to save her life. Some of the women that were witnesses are defending the man who didn't help. You know, it was one of the young ladies who filmed the attack of the black mother. And you guys look at the story. It's the 14-year-old Chicago. Google it, right? And the young lady that's come out that said that she filmed it, she talks about, well, the old men that were there, they were like 80-something years old. And I want you guys to just look at that video in my story and look at the face of that black man. That was right there, that didn't open up his mouth. He had a smirk and kind of a like, let me get out of here, kind of a little smirk on his face as he was leaving. The conversation that we need to have with our men is that I guess they don't make them like the men in my dad's era. I can tell you guys, we're talking about, well, they were old men, they couldn't do anything. This is the thing about it, is old men, old black men, y'all got to stand up. You've got to find the courage to open up your mouths and stand up to these little fatherless thugs that you guys have left to terrorize the community. Because see, while y'all are like, while he was tipping off and like walking off with that little giggle on his face, that same young man will be the same young type of man that will rob and take his life. Because see, they don't just unalive black women and girls and our children, but they also prey upon you, older black man. And what I don't understand is why you guys can't stand up. Now, if that had been an 81-year-old black grandmother standing there, do you think that she would have just, oh, let me get out of here? She would have said something. Y'all do something. I know my mother is 76, and she was at the grocery store in our little podunk town, and two girls were fighting. And she yelled at some young teenage boy or some young man, stop them girls from fighting.
I mean, I would have been like, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
They didn't stop him from fighting. But she opened up her mouth and said something.
You didn't prove a point.
My father, when he was 76 years old, it was a year before he passed away, there was a woman, he had dementia and cancer. And there was a young woman in her 20s that was being beaten by a man. And my father ran out there and got between them. And it's like, young man, stop. And guess what? The young man listened to him. If them one of them older black men, if them older black men, if y'all would stop being such cowards and speak up and stand up and say something to them, they will listen to you. At least give it a try. I would have, as a man, I would think that rather than to be punked like that or to stand there, let me just put it in these terms. As a woman, if I see a man beating a 5-year-old girl, a little 5-year-old black girl, I'm not just going to turn, because I can't whoop that man, most likely. I'm not going to, let me get out of here while he's beating a child. So that's the equivalent here. Whenever you are a man sitting around like a bitch, watching a woman being beaten. That's the equivalent. I'm a black woman and I see a man that age beating a little black girl, just stomping her out. I'm just going, let me get out of here because I can't whoop the man. No, I'm going to say something as a woman. I'm going to intervene as a woman, as a mother, as an aunt. I'm going to say something as a woman in the community. Leave that little girl alone or intervene. I would be willing, if I saw a little black girl being kidnapped, being beaten, somebody getting ready to take her life, I would lay down my life for her. I would. As a woman, and it doesn't matter whose kid it is, I would lay down my life for that child. But we keep talking about, well, these boys, they just out of control. And it was an older black man. How many older black women? Think about our grandmothers. They tell us off all the time. I'm a black woman I was in my 20s in the 90s. And there are some black women I have been regularly in my profession, in my social settings. I get checked all the time by older black women. There is a black woman, Miss Carter. She probably gonna see this. She's an older black woman that was a school teacher for 30-something years. She's retired. I now teach at her school. Y'all know my story. I'm a retired journalist and I'm working on my PhD and now I'm a school teacher. And I actually took over her class. She'd call me and tell me off almost daily. If I'm doing something, she checks me all the time. And I know, you know what I know to do? And I'm not a 20-year-old man. When that woman says, that 70-year-old black woman tell me something, I shut my mouth up, whether or not I think that she's right, whether or not I agree with her. I shut my mouth and either say, yes, ma'am, or, oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't think it's so much that you got to be black. I'm not black. And just recently I was hired on to the school district. And the person who hired me on is an older black woman. She's the 4 men, 4 women, whatever you want to call her. She's the 4 person. Older black woman, like I said, she did like 40 years in the LA Unified School District as a custodian. Now she's up, basically, I think she's like that position right below like the director or something. I forgot what it was. But anyway, when I met her the first time, it was always, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. For a long time, I didn't have any sort of interaction with her until one day where she actually laid out what my job was to be when I was a temp. And she was trying to tell the night custodians that they weren't supposed to give me the vacuum. I was supposed to do all this other shit for them. Because according to her, that was a run, which is basically, in custodial, your run is basically your task list, your agenda, whatever. So they weren't supposed to give me a run. I was supposed to just be wiping stuff down and really do very minimal work. Anyway, when she came up to me, she walked up to me. I'm sitting down. She's like standing right in front of me. This is your job. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Meanwhile, Greg was, no, Miss Jackie, blah, 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 fuck this, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, oh, we cussing now? Oh, we doing this now? Oh, I love Miss Jackie, but da, da, da. Oh, so if you love me, why are we still arguing? Why are you so, the way he was being disrespectful to her. And me, I was just like, yes, ma'am. Yes, no, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So when she hired me on, she was like, I'm going to hire you. Keep away from that drama. And I was like, yes, ma'am. You got my word. I make you a promise, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. At the end of the day, my work ethic is what showed. It's the reason why I got hired. Needless to say, yes ma'am, no ma'am, I gave her so much respect. And not because of what she's done at the LA Unified School District, but because of who she is as a person.
And if y'all would do that with these younger black men, they would stop so easily wreaking havoc on our communities. Think about Black Panther. Whenever they left, was a Killmonger behind. Y'all left them kids behind, and then now they're wreaking havoc on the community. And y'all gonna walk out the door while one of y'all's grandsons is punching a woman in the head with a full fist. Like, even if you didn't look at her and just think, well, I'm gonna protect this woman. Did you see the little 14-year-old boy that's standing there and his mama tell him, go get in the car, son, go get in the car. And then all of you MFs that got out there and lied, probably the ex-wives, because y'all didn't have the courage to stand up and say anything. You wanted to put the story out there that she was just some loud, crazy black woman that got out there, and that is the reason why that y'all didn't help her. No, she tried to protect her son and simply asked a man to get out of her personal space, and then y'all let him have to have his life taken and the little boy to be traumatized because y'all walking out the door. Ooh, let me get up out of here. No, y'all need to be men. If you are men, you need to stand up. An old man is still supposed to be a man.
I'm a dumbass. I let a middle-aged woman ramble on about how the old men should have been. Stop. At the end of the day, right? This man assaulted a woman over food. He said, get your food. If you say one more thing, I'm going to knock you out. He was, quote unquote, the knockout king. That was his nickname. But he had to take more than one punch to knock her out. How is that the knockout king? He clearly didn't know where to punch. He probably hit everywhere else but here. The reason why my brother had sent this to me is because he wanted to show me how ghetto it was, right? That they wore these shirts, that they even had the casket like airbrushed. Like that little. This is exactly what he told me. He's one of my closest black friends, right? At the end of the day, why are y'all praising? It's your boy King Churro. Thank you for watching. Remember that you're loved, even if you think you're the knockout king. And remember to be great every day. Just don't be this. Because tomorrow's never promised. Peace out, y'all.
Every day you wake up, you got a decision to make. To go right or left, up or down, right or wrong. At the end of the day, you make the decision. Nobody forces you. So make the right decision. Make moves, set the goal. Stop making excuses, man. And if it look like a duck, walk like a duck, and sound like a duck, it's a duck. Stop guessing. Just do the right thing. You heard? You hear me? I love y'all. Stay positive. Love one another.
All right. So the last thing I want to add in this video is this woman here did not recognize the fact that the 14-year-old boy went to the car because mom said go to the car because he went and grabbed a gun out of the car to shoot Jeremy Brown. If you're not going to recognize that, if you're not going to recognize that the mom told the son to go get the gun, if you're not going to recognize that there was a gun involved, if you're not going to recognize or think about the legalities of that gun being there in the first place, Like, was she registered to that gun? Or was the gun just not registered? That's what I'm thinking about. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to go ahead and talk about gun laws again here, guys, Democrats, can talk about gun laws, I hope you bring this situation in too. But also, this situation shows why we need guns. Because you need to protect yourself and your family. Just saying.